Alert day conditions will unfold across southern Wisconsin as we carry forth through the evening. A mix of heavy rain, wet snow, and then scattered thunderstorms. Severe thunderstorms are in the forecast as well. I have the very latest in a few minutes.
The polls remain open for another 3 hours in Wisconsin's spring election. What candidates have to say about their campaigns and what's at stake.
New information about a victim in the Abundant Life Christian School shooting, a change in their condition, what hospital officials are saying about it.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
And we are starting with a look at your first warn forecast. There is reason to pay some close attention here. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington now on the weather patio. Alex.
Yeah, getting windy out here on the patio right now as alert day conditions start to unfold across southern Wisconsin. What we're really up against, our main focus, let's take a look at our graphics, is the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms on Wednesday. This is for all of southern Wisconsin. The primary threats are going to be large hail, damaging winds, but we can't rule out the possibility of a tornado. Let's take this timeline here. It starts tonight with a mix of rain and wet snow, turning over to heavy rain overnight. Maybe a strong storm when you join Jacob tomorrow morning with hail. Then we have a break during the late morning, early afternoon hours with redevelopment possible in the afternoon, provided we get that break, with all severe weather modes possible tomorrow afternoon, including the potential of tornadoes. And then everything ends by around 7 o'clock tomorrow evening. Right now, radar 3000 showing rain and wet snow just to the west, just entering Crawford and Grant counties. Here in Dane County, you see a little bit of blue to the east, but I think we have a pretty dry sky out here right now. A lot of that's not making to the ground quite yet, but it will as we progress through this evening. Rain mixed in with wet snow as we head towards the 6 o'clock hour, and then as we head later in the evening, that rain and snow mix changes over to all rain. And the very latest in a few minutes on the potential for severe thunderstorms on Wednesday.
All right, Alex, thank you. Today is April 1st, of course, but more importantly, it is Election Day here in Wisconsin.
Polls are open across the state until 8 o'clock tonight, and voters are making their way through with very few issues. We have team coverage tonight surrounding what voters are seeing at the polls and last-minute thoughts from the candidates. Tens of millions of dollars have poured into the state for this election, and today is where we see it all come together.
Well, we start off with where the vast majority of that money is going, the race for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Our Armand Rahman joins us live at Brad Schimmel's watch party. He's in Pewaukee for a race largely it's partisan, but there is a lot of influence from both Republicans and also Democrats. Armand, how do you think this has played into the campaign?
Yeah, Eric and Susan, like you said, millions of dollars pouring into this campaign and millions of endorsements and supports from some high-level Republicans in the country. Now, Schimmel received President Trump's endorsements, echoing Schimmel's campaign's claims that Crawford has been light on criminal sentences. Schimmel has also expressed that rallying Trump's base in Wisconsin could help secure him a win. But at a campaign stop in Madison yesterday, the Waukesha County judge says the president wants to return to impartiality just as much as he does.
Either way, we're not going to wear jerseys for one team or the other. We are going to be fair, down the middle, impartial, and we're going to have humility and respect for the limits on our power on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. That is the entire thing I promised to President Trump. That's what got his endorsement.
Now, Trump's right-hand man, Elon Musk, also elevating Schimmel in this race hard, and it makes sense as the winner of this open court seat will determine whether the Supreme Court here in the state stays under the liberal control that it won when Janet Protasewicz defeat Dan Kelly back in 2023, or whether it flips to a conservative majority that it had for 15 years before. So we're waiting here for the watch party. They'll be letting us in a couple of minutes here, but we are seeing lots of supporters and campaign workers of Schimmel's kind of filing in here as the time goes on as well. For now, reporting in Waukesha County, Armand Rahman, News 3 Now. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
We will be checking back in with you many times tonight, Armand. Thank you. Now let's go over to the Park Hotel here in Madison. That is where our Maddie Heimsch will be with the watch party for Schimmel's opponent tonight, Susan Crawford. And Maddie, Madison, as everyone knows, has long been a key Democratic stronghold. How are the supporters there reacting in the 3 hours now before the polls close?
Certainly, Susan. Well, we haven't seen any supporters here at the watch party yet. Doors don't open until 8 o'clock. So we'll be here when that happens, and we'll see how those supporters are reacting to the votes coming in. But going back to those party lines, those endorsements, you heard there from Schimmel saying that he won't be wearing a jersey for one party or the other. But on the other hand, Crawford says that's essentially exactly what he's doing. She says he's running a very partisan race, citing his connections to President Donald Trump.
The importance of having justices on our Supreme Court who are fair and impartial and looking to apply the laws to protect Wisconsinites. My opponent has run on a very partisan message. He's said things like he wants to be part of a support network for Donald Trump. It's just not the role of the Wisconsin Supreme Court at all.
Armand was talking about endorsements there. The endorsements have been very clear along those party lines. Crawford has been endorsed by all 4 of the current liberal sitting judges on the court. She's also been endorsed by U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin, Dane County Sheriff Calvin Barrett, and organizations like the Wisconsin Democrats, like Reproductive Freedom for All and Planned Parenthood. But again, the endorsements, the big money, and the national attention coming into this campaign, really what matters is the turnout at the polls tonight. So like I said earlier, we're going to keep waiting on those supporters to come into the watch party and voters to show up to the polls. For now, reporting live from the Park Hotel in downtown Madison, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
All right, Maddie, thank you. The other race on every Wisconsinite's ballot today is for the top education official leading the Department of Public Instruction. Incumbent Jill Underly seeks a second term with a challenge from education consultant Brittany Kinzer. Ellie LaLiberte has been covering this race now for months and joins us with how Jill Underly is feeling before the polls close. Ellie?
As voters make their ways to the polls like this one behind me, Underly tells me she's pretty confident in this race. Now, to give you some context about DPI superintendent, it's a position that comes up every 4 years, and it oversees things like education policy, teacher licensing, but a big one is money. That's something we talked about today. In fact, many of you at home may be asked on your ballot today to raise the tax levy limit for your schools. In fact, about 30 districts in our area are asking voters just that, and it's something Underly says she wants to tackle right away if reelected.
I think there is the realization across the aisle that the funding formula is broken. And every time a referendum is passed, the funding formula gets more broken. It's about time, and it's long past time, honestly, that we look at it. We have good relationships with both sides of the aisle.
Now, throughout this campaign, Underly has really tried to align herself as the public school advocate. And tonight at 6, you can hear what she thinks the state superintendent's role is as the Trump administration looks to try to dismantle the Department of Education. But for now, reporting live downtown Madison, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
Ellie, we will see you at 6. Thank you. Our Merrill Hubbard joins us now from Wauwatosa. She's going to be covering Underly's opponent, Brittany Kinzer, tonight. And Merrill, you know, for nearly 3 decades, Democrat-backed candidates have held this position. This race is very close. If Kinzer were to win tonight, how would this shake the tradition?
Yeah, well, Susan, first of all, I'm on Madison's east side at a polling place. First of all, Susan, I'm at a polling place on the east side, but we'll be going to Wauwatosa tonight. But as you were saying, if Brittany Kinzer wins the election tonight, she'll be the first GOP-backed candidate to sit in the seat of DPI superintendent in the last 30 years. So some things that makes Kinzer stick out in this race is she calls herself a conservative, is an education consultant, and she's in favor of school choice and private school vouchers. She's big on literacy and developing math skills for children. She said she wants to reverse Underly's cut scores and return to testing kids with the national standard. As far as funding goes for schools, she says that she believes local voters can decide on the levy limit through referendum. But she also says the state funding formula needs changing. Now, Kinzer voted in Wauwatosa this morning. She says it was surreal to see her name on the ballot, and here's her message to voters.
If voters believe that our children deserve so much better and they're looking for a leader who is coming in with fresh ideas and a clean slate and promises to work so hard for our children and their families, I am the candidate for them.
They've talked a lot about endorsements tonight. Kinzer is endorsed by Republicans in the state, like former Republican governors Tommy Thompson and Scott Walker. She's also received support from others, including the former mayor of Madison, Dave Cheslevich, or commonly known as Mayor Dave. Current Democrat Goni Evers has not endorsed either candidate. So we're going to keep you posted on some more on elections tonight. I will be going to Wauwatosa to Brittany Kinzer's watch party to keep you guys updated with everything that happens there. But for now, reporting on Madison's east side, Meryl Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Sorry about that, Meryl. I thought to myself, how from the 4 to the 5, how did she get to Wauwatosa?
She was looking ahead to tonight.
That was pretty quick. Meryl will be there tonight for our coverage after the polls close. We'll be updating the results from dozens of elections around our area tonight on the air and always online at channel3000.com.
And with so many races to track, political reporter Will Keneally and our political analyst Brandon Schultz will also offer insight into how much today can impact the future of our state. Will?
Well, that's right, Eric. So much to talk about, but I want to first turn to our political analyst, Brandon Schultz here. We were talking a little bit off air about this idea of the early vote and kind of what these turnout numbers look like. And I do want to let our viewers know at home, we just got some numbers from WISCpolitics.com showing turnout in Washington County. That's one of those Milwaukee suburbs that is key for conservatives in this race. The county clerk there is expecting that turnout might hit 70% today. Brandon, what would that mean for this race?
Well, if you're in the Schimmel campaign, and they have said we need to see a really, really strong turnout way above 23, but certainly incorporating some of the turnout numbers we've seen in 24. So the Schimmel campaign at one point said we need 60% of the MAGA voters, the Trump voters, to win this election. Well, if you kind of do the math on what turned out in 23, you're going to have to add 200,000 or 300,000 voters statewide. In some places like Washington County, that may only be 10,000 voters. But that's important because Washington County, Ozaukee, and Waukesha are the WOW counties that we call them. Those are Republican counties that turn out a lot of votes to counter maybe what happens here in Dane County. Around the rest of the state, we're going to look tonight at the Bow counties, at Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago. And that's important because those two are Republican turnout counties. Even more significant, Musk was there on Sunday, so did that have an effect? And then finally, overall around the rest of the state, we're going to look to see if that early voting indication was a sign that turnout overall today was a result of that. Were those people who voted early already voted, knew where they going to vote? Are they new voters or are they already there? If they're new voters, we're going to see some increased turnout in the state.
When we talk about those Trump loyalists, kind of that MAGA cohort there, is there an area in the state where that's concentrated? Do you think of the WOW counties maybe as that traditional Republican heartland?
Well, we know it's not Dane and Milwaukee, so we can write those off. And so, yep. Yes, you look at the WOW counties, Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington, and we see some evidence of increased turnout in Washington, both early voting and voting today. But we're going to look, like I said, up and down the Fox Valley, and we're going to look at the top of the state, up here. We know that there was really an improvement in early voting. But we also want to take a look at some Democrat places. Are they performing in La Crosse, in the western part of the state? All these chess pieces kind of go to, where do they end up by midnight tonight?
Well, a lot to watch out for. We've already got the hand map going there. Brandon Schultz will be with you throughout the night. Thanks so much.
Will and Brandon, thank you. When we come back, Alex will give you everything you need to know ahead of tomorrow's Alert Day.
And then we hear from health officials an update on the condition of a victim injured in the Abundant Life shooting. That's just ahead. And a final hour rally today avoids major losses on Wall Street. The Dow loses almost a dozen. The Nasdaq gains more than 150 points. S&P 500 adds 21. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5. Moving forward.
Well, over 3 months after 3 people, including the perpetrator, were killed in a shooting at Abundant Life Christian School, one of those injured has been reported again in critical condition. The shooting took place on December 16th last year. 3 people died, including the shooter, and 6 others were hurt. UW Health provided this statement to us saying, quote, "The remaining patient who has been cared for at American Family Children's Hospital following the Abundant Life Christian School shooting is again in critical condition." UW Health added the family is requesting privacy at this time.
All right, well, some dicey weather blowing in tonight. Could get nasty tomorrow. Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington keeping an eye on things for us, Alex.
Yes, alert day conditions that we've been discussing here for the past couple of days are evolving as we speak right now, and will develop tonight with the main focus on Wednesday with strong to severe storms that we're going to track here momentarily. But I want to take us through the whole alert day. It comes in several different waves, I should say. Right now, from now till the early morning hours of Wednesday, a rain-snow mix developing, turning to heavy rain tonight that will impact folks that might be out voting yet this evening as that rain moves in. And I'll show radar 3000 momentarily. Strong storms are likely as we go into the early morning hours, right around that rush hour time. Jacob will be here. There could be an isolated severe storm with hail, the main threat. Then we likely get a brief break as we go from the late morning into the early afternoon hours. That could set the stage again for redevelopment of thunderstorms with all modes possible, meaning large hail, damaging winds, and a couple of tornadoes. And then everything is out of here by 7 p.m. So that's the full timeline. Radar 3000 showing that rain and wet snow developing over Crawford, Grant into Lafayette counties. Here in Dane County, I'm stepped outside. A lot of this is not making it to the ground quite yet. The air is a bit on the dry side, but it will eventually make it to the ground here as we head towards 6, 7, 8 o'clock. Widespread heavy rain, and again, that wet snow mixing in, changing over to all rain as we go into the early morning hours. And then we track the severe weather threat, which is high for wind, high for hail, and moderate for tornadoes as we go into Wednesday. Latest weather models here will show after the Storm Prediction Center has recently updated much of southern Wisconsin, a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather across the area. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. Here's that latest future track projection showing that mix of rain and wet snow through the mid-evening hours through 8, 9. As we head towards the midnight hour, that rain and snow shifts off towards the north and towards the east. And look at the line and train of scattered thunderstorms by 6 a.m. in the morning. These are the storms that could produce an isolated severe storm with hail. Here is that break. Always keep that in the back of your head. If you get a break in rain and thunderstorms, so that happens right at that critical time at about noon, that allows the atmosphere to warm up a little bit. And look at this, as we head towards 4, 5 o'clock, scattered thunderstorms redeveloping across the area. And these are the storms that have the First Warn Weather Team's greatest attention right now. These are the storms, if this were to verify, could produce that tornado risk. Good news is, at least, there is some silver lining here. 7 o'clock, it's all out of here. So it's a brief window of narrow opportunity for this setup that we call a triple point. This is where you get all the ingredients coming together in an apex, and that best chance is going to be over far southeast Wisconsin, Madison, and points down towards Janesville, over towards Elkhorn, maybe as far north as Jefferson. But this could shift as we watch this triple point move in to parts of southern Wisconsin as we go into Wednesday. You want to be tuning in, Jacob, morning and noon. Blaze and I will be here at noon to take over for any potential for severe weather coverage as we go into the afternoon hours. Following our alert day conditions, 67 for a high on Wednesday. Temperature staying fairly mild for this time of year, but quiet. That's the main mode here after we get through alert day Wednesday.
All right, Alex, thank you. After the break, some homes in northern Wisconsin are still without power after weekend ice storms. We'll tell you which areas are affected when we come back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Power outages continue across northern Wisconsin, leaving thousands in the dark. Wisconsin Public Service has restored power to thousands of customers, but many in Antigo and other parts of Langlade County remain without electricity. Community groups like Calvary Lutheran Church are stepping in to provide meals and a warm place to gather. Emergency management is monitoring the situation and may ask the Red Cross to help if needed. Meanwhile, election officials are working around potential voting disruptions in the Northwoods today.
Meanwhile, in Green Bay, power issues briefly did disrupt voting this morning. City officials say 3 West Side polling locations, the Perkins Park Shelter, St. Paul's United Methodist Church, and St. Jude's Catholic Church all lost power earlier today, but within 20 minutes, electricity was restored. Voting continued uninterrupted, and officials urged residents to just stay in line, cast those ballots. With outages still impacting parts of the state, election officials are prepared to adjust as needed.
Well, attention anglers, it's time to renew your fishing licenses for the 25-26 season. The Wisconsin DNR reminds residents and non-residents over 16 that the fishing licenses for this year expired yesterday. Starting today, you'll need a valid 2025-26 license to fish in inland waters. Annual resident licenses are $20 with spousal licenses available for $31. Some year-round fishing opportunities are open, including a catch and release for bass and trout. And don't forget to disinfect your gear to help prevent the spread of invasive species.
And stay with us for a final check of your First Warn forecast after a break. Well, coming up at 6, our coverage continues of this crucial election day across Wisconsin. Still plenty of time to vote if you haven't, as the fate of Wisconsin Supreme Court and the future of the state's education hangs in the balance. Again, our coverage continues 30 minutes on News 3 Now at 6.
Some good news tonight. Remember those missing Green Bay otters we showed you? Well, guess what? One of them is back at the zoo. The new zoo and adventure park says Ophelia was safely secured last Friday. She spent a few days getting checked out by a veterinarian, but everything is good. She's okay. Louis still hasn't been found, however. Zoo officials say since it's otter breeding season, Louis might have traveled further than Ophelia, but they still hope he's not too far away.
Well, we know what that's all about. Louis sounds like trouble. Let's go to Alex. You're going to be a busy, your whole department going to be keeping a close eye on things.
Yes, the next 24 hours, we've got two parts to this. Starting tonight, rain, wet, snow. We got that wind out there. If you're going to be out and about tonight, that'll make an impact. Then thunderstorms late as we head towards 6 o'clock in the morning. Hail is the main threat tomorrow morning, and if we warm up just enough, there could be the potential for tornadoes, and we've got full team coverage tomorrow to keep everyone safe.
All right, Alex, thanks again. We'll be back in 30 minutes. More election coverage on News 3 Now at 6. Stay tuned now for the CBS Evening News.